Beloved soul, breathe for a moment and feel the nearness of the one who has carried you through every unseen night. You didn't arrive here by wandering. You were drawn, summoned, gathered by a holy pull that has been moving through the deep places of your spirit. Something ancient and tender has been unfolding around you, and heaven has chosen this moment to wrap truth around your heart. That heaviness you've been carrying, the quiet burdens you never voiced, the weight you thought no one saw, God has seen all of it, and He has not turned away. He has leaned closer. There is a stirring rising inside you, not confusion but confirmation. The Lord is whispering through the very air around you, reminding you that you have been held, watched over, and shaped with intention. Jeremiah 29:11 testifies that His plans for you carry hope, a future, and a path drenched in purpose. You are stepping into a breakthrough season, a moment where destiny alignment begins to settle over your life. Like dawn, what felt like delay was divine pacing. What felt like silence was sacred preparation. Chosen one, the strain you've been feeling in your chest is not collapse, it is awakening. Heaven has been stretching your faith because the abundance prepared for you requires capacity you didn't even know you were building. Every challenge you endured, every night you pressed forward despite the trembling, has been strengthening your wealth mindset, your emotional healing, your personal transformation. You have been walking through a refining that only the Spirit could orchestrate. Pause now and let your heart open. Isaiah 43:19 declares that God is doing a new thing, and it rises even now beneath the surface of your life. You've carried worries about financial stability, questions about direction, fears about whether you would ever feel held or chosen again. But the Father has been guiding you with a steady hand. Your tears did not fall into emptiness. They watered the soil of the very blessing being prepared in your name. And as this truth settles over you, I want you to hear this with the fullness of your spirit. God knows what you're carrying, every burden, every hope, every unanswered question, and He is stepping into your story in a fresh, undeniable way. This is a spiritual awakening, a holy elevation, a moment where heaven bends low to lift you higher. Before we continue deeper, beloved, if this word is already stirring something sacred inside you, take a moment to subscribe, like, and share. Not for the sake of numbers, but because when you stay connected to a stream of revelation, your spirit stays aligned with what God is activating in you. Now breathe again, chosen one. The journey is only beginning, and what comes next will open wells inside you that you never knew were there. Beloved soul, draw near for a moment, because what is unfolding within you is deeper than the mind can track and greater than the heart can fully hold. You have been walking through a season where every weight seemed to whisper that you were alone, yet heaven has been studying your steps with impossible precision. The questions you carried in silence have been echoing in the throne room, and the Father has been answering in ways your spirit felt long before your eyes could see. There were nights when you held your breath, unsure if your strength would stretch far enough to carry you through another sunrise. But what you thought was exhaustion was actually spiritual enlargement. You weren't breaking, you were being expanded for abundance. You weren't falling, you were being anchored. And every unseen moment became the scaffolding of the elevation now forming around you. Chosen one, hear this. Nothing you've endured has been wasted. Not the battles you never spoke about. Not the financial instability you tried to hide from others. Not the loneliness that wrapped around you like fog. Heaven has been watching you navigate the pressure with quiet courage, and that courage has become the doorway to your breakthrough season. The Lord has been studying your endurance, your obedience, your resilience, and what looked like delay was divine strategy shaping you for a destiny alignment far larger than anything your past could have predicted. There is a reason your spirit has felt stretched lately. You've been sensing shifts you couldn't explain. You've been waking at hours that felt strange. You've been feeling pulled toward decisions you didn't request. When God begins to reveal the deeper layers of your divine purpose, your inner world becomes the first place to transform. And this transformation is not gentle, it is holy, precise, and deliberate. The discomfort you've been navigating is not proof of failure. It's proof that your calling has outgrown your surroundings. You do not belong to the shadows that once sought to claim you. You belong to the light that refuses to let you remain small. Every piece of your story, the victories, the heartbreaks, the waiting, the confusion, has been preparing you for elevation. Beloved soul, think back to the moments when you felt unseen. Those times when you wondered if God remembered you. While you wrestled with uncertainty, heaven was arranging a future that required the very strength you were developing in the dark. You were not abandoned. You were being sharpened. A sword is not forged in silence, it is formed in fire. Your faith has been shaped the same way. You have been carrying weights that many would have collapsed beneath, yet your spirit kept rising. This is why the Lord has set his eye upon you with such intention. You are not ordinary. You never were. You carry anointing that demands pressure. You carry purpose that attracts warfare. You carry light that triggers envy. And God has been shielding you from battles you never even knew threatened you. There were assignments meant to drain your destiny that God blocked. There were people who were never meant to walk with you that he removed. There were opportunities you thought you needed, but heaven refused to let you have them because they would have stolen your future. You were being protected even in the moments when protection felt like loss. Chosen one, the weight you've been carrying has been heavy. Yes, but it has also been sacred. It has been shaping your wealth mindset, crafting emotional healing, positioning you for personal transformation that will ripple into every area of your life. What you are stepping into is not mere blessing. It is divine alignment, the kind of alignment that shifts bloodlines, restores broken identity, heals buried wounds, and elevates those who choose obedience over comfort. You have walked through shadows that tried to swallow you, yet here you stand not merely surviving, but rising. There is a spiritual awakening happening inside you that is rewriting the way you breathe, see, think, move. You're beginning to realize that every hardship taught you how to hear God more clearly. Every disappointment purified your intentions. Every betrayal refined your discernment. Every delay detoxed your heart from what could not walk into the next chapter with you. This is why you feel different. Your spirit has outgrown your old patterns. Your heart has outgrown relationships that don't honor your growth. Your mind has outgrown scarcity and fear. Your soul has outgrown the environments that once felt safe. You have been promoted internally long before the external manifestation appears. Heaven always moves within before it moves around. This is the rhythm of destiny. Beloved, God knows what you're carrying, the dreams you haven't dared to speak, the wounds you don't want reopened, the longing for stability, the desire to finally breathe without fear of the future. He knows the panic you fight in silence. He knows the expectations placed on your shoulders. He knows the pressure of responsibility you never asked for but still carry with grace. And it is because He knows that He is stepping in. This next stretch of your journey is going to reveal what the last stretch was building. You are entering a realm of clarity where confusion will no longer have authority over your mindset. You are stepping into a chapter where financial stability is not a distant wish but a divine strategy unfolding step by step. You are moving into rooms where your voice will matter, where your presence will shift atmospheres, where your obedience will unlock abundance. There is a divine sequence unfolding around you, and you are standing at the center of it. Heaven is orchestrating alignment with such precision that even the moments that feel delayed are actually preparing the ground beneath your next step. You are not late, you are not behind. You are right on schedule for what God intends to release. And, beloved, your spirit knows it. That pressure you feel, it's not collapse, it's crowning. That uncertainty you feel, it's not danger, it's direction. That restlessness you feel, it's not fear, it's calling. You are being ushered into a story that only God could write. And as He reveals the layers of your destiny, the weight you've been carrying will begin to make sense. Nothing has been random. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been overlooked. There will come a time soon when you will see why every tear had to fall exactly where it did. Why every door had to close exactly when it did. Why every ending was really a beginning. But this is not the end of your journey. This is only the unfolding. And beloved soul, before we continue deeper, if these words are awakening something inside you, take a moment to type your affirmation in the comments as a declaration of agreement. Give your spirit a voice. Speak your readiness into the atmosphere. Beloved soul, let your breath settle, because what is rising within you now is not a repetition of what you've walked through. This is a deeper unveiling, the kind that touches the hidden places you've never spoken of and lifts them toward a new atmosphere of healing. The Spirit has been moving through the cracks of your life, filling the places that felt hollow, strengthening the areas you thought would never recover. You are not where you were even a month ago. Something in you has shifted, and heaven has been shaping that shift with precision. You've begun noticing that your reactions are changing. Things that once pierced you now glance off your spirit because your emotional armor has been reforged. The Lord has been renewing your inner landscape, softening hardened areas and strengthening the tender ones. This is not random transformation, it is holy reconstruction. He has been teaching you how to hold peace without gripping fear, how to carry responsibility without drowning in pressure, how to walk with grace even when your heart felt stretched thin. Chosen one, there is a divine expansion unfolding inside you. You are beginning to see that what you carry is not only weight, but wisdom. The kind of wisdom that can only be formed through nights of uncertainty and days of perseverance. You have gained the kind of spiritual clarity that only comes from seasons where God Himself became your only anchor. And now you stand with a steadiness you didn't have before, a strength that surprises even you. There is a reason certain memories have been resurfacing lately. Heaven is revisiting old chapters not to reopen wounds, but to rewrite your understanding of them. You're being shown that what once felt like abandonment was actually protection. What once felt like rejection was elevation. What once felt like loss was preparation for inheritance. The Father has been reframing your story from His vantage point, so you can finally see yourself through the lens of purpose instead of pain. Beloved, there are gifts inside you that life tried to bury. Gifts that were overshadowed by responsibilities you never asked for, expectations that weighed more than they honored, environments that misunderstood the depth of who you are. But God has been calling those gifts back to the surface. He has been stirring old passions, awakening forgotten dreams, reigniting ideas that once brought you joy. Nothing He placed inside you has died. It has only been resting until the appointed time. And that time is beginning to awaken. You've been feeling a strange pull toward deeper connection, not with people, but with your own soul. You've been sensing the need to sit with yourself, to listen to the quiet voice within, to honor the parts of you that have been neglected. That pull is not loneliness, it is alignment. Heaven is teaching you how to hear your own calling again, how to recognize what resonates with your spirit and what drains it. how to walk with discernment that protects your energy from being misused. This inner tuning is preparing you for relationships that match your frequency, partnerships that nurture your spirit instead of demanding it, connections that recognize your light instead of competing with it, friendships that honor your growth instead of fearing your elevation. Heaven is sending people who will stand beside you without jealousy, who will celebrate your progress without comparison, who will understand your silence without assuming distance. But before those connections arrive, God has been preparing you to receive them with clarity instead of fear. You are learning how to let love in without suspicion, how to open your heart without losing your boundaries, how to trust without handing over your identity. This is emotional healing at a divine level, the restoration of the parts of you that once believed you had to shrink to be safe. Chosen one, listen closely. You are entering a season where your presence is going to carry spiritual authority without needing explanation. You won't have to convince anyone of the legitimacy of your calling. You won't have to prove your worth. You won't have to explain your anointing. God is placing a mantle on your life that will speak for you before you utter a word. Those who are meant to walk with you will feel it instantly. Those who cannot honor it will quietly drift away. And you will let them go without grief, because your spirit finally understands that holding on to what cannot support your elevation slows the expansion of your destiny. The doors that are closing right now are not punishments, they are mercy. Heaven is pruning your path so that you can rise without unnecessary weight, so that you can move into spiritual abundance without the noise of past shadows. You've also begun feeling sudden waves of revelation, small shifts in perception that leave you seeing life with sharper discernment. Old patterns that once confused you now seem transparent. People's intentions that once felt hidden now feel obvious. Situations that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. This clarity is not accidental, it is prophetic preparation. God is adjusting your spiritual eyesight so you can perceive opportunities you once overlooked and avoid traps you once stepped into. Beloved, there is strategy being poured into your spirit. You are being guided into decisions that will break cycles you've been trapped in for years. You are being led into habits that will strengthen your future instead of repeating your past. You are being taught how to build stability that cannot be stolen, shaken, or sabotaged. This is part of your elevation, not upward movement alone, but deeper rooting. Your destiny requires foundation, and heaven is laying that foundation within you right now. Chosen one. What you are walking into is not ordinary provision, it is generational healing, the kind that rewires belief systems, the kind that frees future children, the kind that dissolves patterns of scarcity, fear, and survival. What God is doing in you will echo beyond your lifetime. That is why the pressure has felt so intense. The mantle on your life carries legacy. You are being prepared to step into roles you once felt unqualified for, responsibilities you once doubted you could handle, influence you once feared would expose your flaws. But heaven sees the you that exists beyond insecurity, and that version of you is emerging. There is a new strength forming in your voice, a new conviction rising in your heart, a new courage settling in your bones. You will begin to speak with clarity you didn't know you had. You will begin to make decisions with boldness that surprises those who underestimated you. You will begin to walk with assurance that reflects the truth God has been whispering over you since the beginning. You were chosen for more than survival. You were chosen for impact, for purpose, for divine unfolding. And beloved soul, even now, as this truth stirs your spirit, if you feel the fire of confirmation awakening inside you, let your voice be heard. Speak your agreement. Declare your readiness. Let the atmosphere around you witness your rising. Beloved, Something powerful is beginning to stir beneath the surface of your daily life, almost like a quiet current guiding you toward places your mind has not yet imagined. You may have noticed that certain conversations feel heavier now, not because they burden you, but because your spirit is starting to discern what carries life and what steals it. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is spiritual maturation. Heaven is sharpening your awareness so you can walk into your next assignment without being ensnared by old distractions. There is a shift happening in the way you interpret your circumstances. Where you once saw obstacles, you now sense hidden strategy. Where you once felt trapped, you now detect subtle openings. God is training your perception so that you can read the signs He places along your path. This is part of your destiny alignment, the unfolding ability to recognize divine fingerprints in what others dismiss as coincidence. Chosen one, you have also been feeling a tug toward inner stillness, a call to quiet the noise around you so you can hear what moves beneath the noise. The Spirit has been drawing you into deeper communion, not through force, but through an undeniable longing. You felt it in moments when your heart suddenly softened, when your eyes welled without clear reason, when an inner whisper asked for your attention. These moments are not emotional flares, they are invitations. Heaven is speaking to you in frequencies your soul is now mature enough to receive. And as you lean into this stillness, you'll notice another layer unfolding. Your desires are changing shape. The things you once chased feel dull. The things you once tolerated now feel unbearable. And the things that once felt far away now feel strangely close. That closeness is not imagination. It is prophecy. The dreams that once hovered at the edges of your awareness are stepping into the center, signaling that the appointed time is approaching. Beloved soul, the Lord has also been opening your inner vault, the deep place where your true motivations live. You've been confronting habits you outgrew long ago, yet carried out of routine. You've been examining fears that no longer have the power to define you. You've been releasing guilt that was never yours to hold. This cleansing is not random, it is necessary. God is preparing you to walk with a clarity that requires no apology. There is something else happening too, a renewal in the way you view your own identity. You are beginning to sense that you were never meant to blend in with environments that diluted your potential. You're starting to see your uniqueness as a mantle rather than a burden. You're recognizing that what once made you feel out of place was actually the evidence of your anointing. This recognition is unlocking levels of spiritual confidence you didn't know existed within you. And, beloved, heaven has noticed the shift. When a chosen one begins to recognize their worth, the spirit realm adjusts. You've been feeling that adjustment in subtle ways. The peace that visits you in the middle of chaos, the ideas that come alive at unexpected moments, the sense that you're being carried by something larger than your own strength. This is divine momentum rising beneath your feet. There are new assignments being prepared for you, assignments that require courage, insight, and emotional authority. These assignments are not burdens, they are breakthroughs in disguise. They will stretch you into rooms that match the measure of what you carry. They will place you among people who can see your value without requiring explanation. They will expand your capacity to influence, inspire, and heal. Chosen one, the reason your spirit feels both tender and powerful right now is because heaven has begun to activate the deeper layers of your calling. You're moving into a realm where your presence alone shifts atmospheres, where your words carry weight, where your intuition guides you as accurately as your logic. This merging of heart, mind, and spirit is forming the foundation of your next elevation. There is also a new relationship forming between you and your future. You no longer view your destiny with fear. You're starting to feel a sacred confidence rising, the kind that whispers, "I was made for this." That whisper is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the echo of heaven reminding you that everything God placed inside you is beginning to awaken at once. And beloved, let this truth settle gently in your spirit. You are not waiting for transformation. Transformation is waiting for you to step into recognition. If your heart is stirring, let its fire speak. Let your affirmation rise in the comments like a signal to heaven that you're ready for the next unveiling. Beloved soul, something even deeper is beginning to rise within you. A movement so subtle that only a spirit awakened by pressure could recognize it. You've started sensing a quiet unfolding in the spaces of your life that once felt stagnant. Conversations that used to drain you now lose their hold. Environments that once captured your attention now feel too small to contain who you are becoming. This is not dissatisfaction, it is expansion. Heaven is stretching the interior of your life so that the exterior can follow in due time. You might not have noticed it at first, but your inner rhythms have shifted. The pace of your thoughts has changed. Where your mind once spiraled, it now settles. Where your emotions once rushed, they now breathe. God has been recalibrating the tempo of your heart so you can hear Him even in the quiet moments you once overlooked. It is in this recalibration that your next season is being built. Chosen one, there is a new form of courage settling into you. The kind that doesn't roar but resonates. The kind that doesn't demand attention but commands clarity. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself in rooms that do not understand you. You no longer feel compelled to shrink so others can feel comfortable. You no longer feel obligated to dim your light for the sake of peace. This is spiritual maturity blooming inside you. You are learning that humility is not silence, it is alignment with truth. There is a sacred intelligence awakening in your discernment. You're beginning to notice the motives behind words, the intentions behind actions, the energy behind proximity. This new awareness is not suspicion, it is protection. Heaven has sharpened your spirit so you can walk through your next elevation without absorbing the burdens of those who cannot carry what you carry. You're being trained to preserve your emotional space because your next assignment requires clarity, not clutter. Beloved, God has also been shifting the way you respond to pressure. You used to feel overwhelmed by the weight of expectation, but now there is a steadiness in you that wasn't there before. You've been learning how to breathe through battles instead of breaking under them. You've learned how to pause instead of panic, how to pray instead of collapse. This is resilience, forged through seasons you thought would destroy you, yet they became the very seasons that rebuilt you. Something else has been happening too. Your relationship with your future has become more intimate. You're no longer afraid of what's ahead. You're starting to feel drawn toward it, almost magnetically. The dreams hiding inside you have begun to move like living things, pushing against the edges of your consciousness. The more you grow, the louder they speak. This growing pressure isn't discomfort, it's destiny announcing itself. Chosen one, you've also been experiencing a strange clarity around the things you once misunderstood about yourself. You're realizing that your sensitivity is not a flaw, but a gift. Your empathy is not weakness, but discernment in motion. Your isolation was not punishment, but preparation for deeper authority. You're beginning to recognize that everything about you has been intentionally crafted to carry the spiritual weight God placed on your life. And as you come into this awareness, heaven is beginning to trust you with more. You've been feeling this increase not externally, but internally. The ideas that come to you effortlessly, the insights that appear at random moments, the sudden knowing that settles on you without explanation. These are not coincidences. They are signs that God is entrusting you with revelation designed to unlock your next level. You may have noticed a new hunger rising inside you, a hunger for wholeness, for sustainability, for authenticity, for abundance that isn't just material but emotional, mental, and spiritual. This hunger is not emptiness, it is awakening. It is the recognition that you were not created for survival alone, but for fullness. And heaven is aligning your life with the resources, connections, and opportunities that match that fullness. Beloved, there is also a quiet freedom entering your life, the kind that loosens your grip on what once drained you. Relationships that once held power over your heart no longer anchor you. Expectations that once suffocated you no longer bind you. You are releasing what was never yours to carry, and in doing so, your hands are opening for what was always meant to stay. Something powerful is happening in the way you process your past. You're no longer looking at old wounds with bitterness or denial. You're starting to see them through the lens of purpose. You're realizing that every disappointment carved out space for deeper wisdom. Every betrayal taught you how to guard your peace. Every loss taught you how to rebuild from the ground up. This is not revisionist memory. It is emotional freedom forming from divine insight. Chosen one, the Lord is also awakening a new strength in the way you speak. You're finding words that carry authority you didn't know you possessed. Your voice is shifting into alignment with your calling. You are beginning to speak from identity, not insecurity, from clarity, not confusion, from purpose, not fear. And because of this, room after room is going to begin responding to you differently. And, beloved soul, if your spirit is recognizing the truth rising in these words, let your heart answer. Lift your declaration into the atmosphere as a signal of your readiness for what heaven is shaping next. Beloved soul, there is a new kind of alignment forming around you, one that touches not only your spirit, but the hidden architecture of your daily choices. You may have felt lately that certain habits are dissolving without effort, as if something inside you quietly decided they no longer serve your becoming. This is not coincidence. It is the Spirit refining your rhythm so your actions match the magnitude of your calling. What once felt normal now feels misplaced because heaven is rearranging the coordinates of your life from the inside out. You have also begun to sense a deeper awareness of time. Moments feel heavier, more meaningful, as though each hour has started carrying instruction folded within it. This heightened awareness is not anxiety, it is discernment awakening. You're learning to recognize when the atmosphere around you shifts, when your spirit leans forward, when the inner nudge asks you to pause or proceed. The more you honor these signals, the clearer they become, guiding you like quiet lanterns toward what has been prepared for you. Chosen one, your inner strength is taking on a new form, not loud or forceful, but steady and anchored. You no longer crumble at the first sign of pressure, because pressure has become a familiar teacher rather than an enemy. You've learned to sit in uncomfortable moments without losing yourself. You've learned to move through uncertainty without becoming unstable. You've learned to face transitions without collapsing into fear. This is emotional authority rising in you, the kind God grants to those he trusts with greater influence. There is a transformation happening in your relationship with responsibility. Tasks that once overwhelmed you now unfold with unexpected ease. Commitments that once drained you now feel purposeful. You're discovering that when your alignment is right, your energy is multiplied. Heaven is teaching you how to steward your strength so you don't scatter it on things that do not advance your destiny. You are learning the sacred difference between being busy and being fruitful. Beloved, the way you interpret silence has changed too. What once felt like abandonment now feels like incubation. You're realizing that God's quiet seasons are not punishments but sanctuaries where he shapes the deeper chambers of your character. In the hush between assignments, he has been rewiring the way you think, clarifying the desires of your heart and revealing what truly matters. This silent work has created depth in you that noise could never build. Something beautiful is also happening in the way you manage your emotions. You're learning how to honor what you feel without letting it rule you. You're discovering how to let sorrow speak without letting it stay. You're understanding how to welcome joy without fearing its end. This emotional balance is part of your healing, the kind that makes your heart both soft enough to feel and strong enough to endure. Heaven has been teaching you how to hold your inner world with gentleness rather than judgment. Chosen one, there is a divine refinement happening in your vision. Ideas that once seemed blurry are coming into focus. Long-term dreams that felt unrealistic now carry practicality. The future no longer appears as a distant concept, but as a shape forming right in front of you. You're beginning to recognize windows of opportunity, not by their appearance, but by the resonance they stir in your spirit. That resonance is guidance, the language heaven uses when words feel too small. You may have noticed that your capacity to forgive has deepened, not because pain disappeared, but because purpose has begun to matter more than resentment. You're choosing peace over grudges, clarity over conflict, release over retaliation. This is spiritual maturity rising. You are no longer investing energy in battles that lead nowhere. You've outgrown the need to defend yourself in places where your growth is already your answer. Beloved soul, God is also awakening a new sensitivity to beauty, not superficial beauty, but the kind that whispers truth into quiet moments. You're noticing color differently, sound differently, the movement of the wind differently. The world feels more alive because your spirit is more awake. This heightened sensitivity is not emotional exaggeration. It is evidence that your heart is healing in layers you once believed were unreachable. There is also a new clarity unfolding in the way you understand divine timing. You're learning that delay is not denial, that preparation is not punishment, that waiting is not wasted. You're discovering that when God withholds something, it is not because you are forgotten, but because the foundation is still being laid. This revelation is reshaping your patience, turning it from frustration into expectation. Chosen one, your inner landscape is shifting in ways that will soon transform your outer world. You're beginning to understand the sacred truth that elevation is not an event, it is a becoming. And right now, you are becoming someone heaven can trust, with destiny-sized assignments, relationships, opportunities, and influence. And if your spirit feels this unfolding as clearly as the breath in your chest, let your heart speak. Lift your affirmation into the atmosphere as a sign that you recognize the transformation happening within you and you are willing to rise with it. Beloved soul, there is a stirring in the deeper chambers of your being, a movement so gentle yet so undeniable that it's reshaping the way you perceive everything around you. You've begun to notice that certain desires are quieting while others are awakening with renewed intensity. These shifts are not random fluctuations of emotion, they are signals of spiritual recalibration. Heaven is aligning your longings with the assignment written over your life, removing appetite for anything that fractures your peace and amplifying the call toward what sustains your purpose. You are entering a phase where the way you make decisions is no longer rooted in fear or urgency. Something inside you is learning to wait with intention. You are beginning to trust the timing of your choices, allowing clarity to rise instead of forcing outcomes. This patience is not passivity, it is authority. You are stepping into the kind of maturity that knows the difference between a door that is delayed and a door that is misaligned. Your intuition is evolving from instinct into discernment, guided not by impulse but by revelation. Chosen one, there is also a new depth unfolding in the way you hold your relationships. You've started to feel a pull toward connections that nourish your soul instead of draining your strength. You no longer settle for conversations that leave you empty or commitments that pull you away from your center. This shift is not coldness, it is clarity. Heaven is cleansing the emotional landscape around you, freeing you from attachments that dilute your identity and making space for bonds that reflect your growth. You are learning that loyalty does not mean self-abandonment, and love does not require you to shrink. There is a quiet boldness rising in you, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that stands firm in truth even when no one is watching. You're beginning to honor your convictions with a sincerity that cannot be shaken. You're learning to say no without guilt, to say yes without fear, to hold boundaries without feeling selfish. This inner freedom is shaping a new stability in your spirit, enabling you to move with intention instead of obligation. Beloved, heaven has also been nurturing a deeper grounding in your identity. You've spent years navigating expectations that were too heavy for the version of you that existed then. But now, the pressure has refined you. You're discovering that you no longer need validation from places that cannot see your value. You're realizing that the purpose within you is too expansive to be contained by opinions, too sacred to be limited by comparison. This recognition is awakening a confidence that flows from knowing who you are rather than proving it. There is a new gentleness forming in your inner dialogue. The voice within you that once criticized now comforts. The thoughts that once condemned now guide. You're learning to speak to yourself with grace, understanding that the journey you're on requires compassion, not perfection. This self-kindness is not indulgence. It is healing. It is the restoration of a heart that has carried too much weight for too long. Chosen one, the way you engage with your dreams is shifting as well. You no longer chase them out of desperation. You are cultivating them with patience, nurturing them as seedlings rather than demanding them as harvest. This shift in posture is powerful because heaven responds to faith that is tended rather than forced. You are beginning to understand that destiny unveils itself to those who prepare quietly, consistently, and sincerely. You've also felt a change in the way you seek direction. Instead of searching frantically for answers, you are learning to sit in the presence of possibility. You're discovering that questions don't always require immediate resolution. Sometimes they require space. This space is where God whispers. It is where He reveals the next step, not through noise, but through knowing. You are being trained to hear Him in ways that transcend instruction and touch revelation. Beloved soul, there is a fresh hunger rising in you for alignment, not just in what you do, but in who you are becoming. You want your inner world to reflect the wholeness your spirit has been reaching for. You want your choices to honor the growth you've fought for. You want your future to mirror the restoration heaven is cultivating within you. This hunger is not restlessness, it is readiness. It is the sign that your life is preparing to rise into harmony with your calling. Something else is awakening too, a deeper sense of responsibility for the influence you carry. You're starting to understand that your presence impacts the atmosphere around you, that your words shape the emotional climate of those who listen, that your posture affects the people connected to your journey. This awareness is not pressure, it is invitation. Heaven is preparing you to step into influence with humility, wisdom, and spiritual integrity. Chosen one, everything about you is expanding your insight, your compassion, your discernment, your capacity for truth. You're walking through a doorway where your past can no longer dictate your potential, and your fears can no longer mute your purpose. This unfolding is sacred, it is intentional, and it is only the beginning of what your spirit is ready to embrace. If your heart resonates with the depth rising in these words, let your spirit speak and release your affirmation into the atmosphere, marking your agreement with the transformation continuing to unfold within you. Beloved soul, there is a quiet awakening shaping the way you respond to the world around you, almost as if your inner compass has begun pointing toward horizons you never considered before. You're sensing possibilities rising where you once saw only limits. You're feeling doors in your spirit open before they open in your circumstances. This internal shift is not imagination, it is preparation. Heaven is teaching you how to recognize opportunity before it becomes visible, how to embrace promise before it takes form, how to trust movement even when the path looks still. You've also noticed a change in the way you carry solitude. What once felt like emptiness now feels like refuge. You are discovering that stillness is not a void, but a vessel that holds revelation, healing, and direction. The more you rest in that stillness, the more you hear the subtle guidance you used to overlook. God has been using these quiet spaces to strengthen the parts of you that life tried to weaken, to restore the corners of your heart that felt frayed, to rebuild confidence in places where doubt once lived. Chosen one, your relationship with uncertainty has evolved as well. You're no longer intimidated by what you cannot predict. You've learned that the unknown is not a threat but a threshold, a boundary between who you were and who you are becoming. You're starting to see that uncertainty is where faith breathes, where courage grows, where destiny waits patiently for your next step. This newfound steadiness is a sign that your spirit is maturing faster than your fears can follow. There is also a tender restoration happening in your inner narrative. You're beginning to speak to yourself with a tone that carries wisdom instead of criticism. You're offering yourself patience where you once demanded perfection. You're embracing the truth that growth does not happen in straight lines, but in layers unfolding, receding, deepening, rising. This restoration is healing the fractures left by years of carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours alone. Beloved, heaven has been cultivating a new attentiveness in the way you observe your surroundings. You're seeing connections you used to miss. You're feeling the weight of moments that once passed unnoticed. You're recognizing the divine in details that seem ordinary to others. This sensitivity is not accidental. It is a gift awakening within you, enabling you to discern the presence of God woven into the fabric of your daily life. You may have felt recently that your priorities have begun shifting, almost without conscious effort. What once demanded your attention now feels distant. What once overwhelmed you now feels manageable. What once felt urgent no longer holds authority over your peace. This recalibration is proof that your spirit is preparing for a different kind of future, one that requires clarity, intention, and emotional sovereignty. Chosen one, your inner strength is beginning to express itself in quiet decisions rather than loud declarations. You're choosing growth over familiarity. You're choosing honesty over avoidance. You're choosing alignment over convenience. These choices may seem small, but they are constructing the foundation for the life you've been praying for. Heaven often builds through subtle shifts, long before the breakthrough becomes visible. There is a new kind of courage awakening in you, not the kind that rushes forward recklessly, but the kind that stands firm with unwavering conviction. The kind that remembers who you are, even when circumstances challenge your identity. The kind that refuses to abandon purpose in moments of pressure. This courage is not something you found. It is something God placed deep within you long before you realized you needed it. Beloved soul, you've also begun to notice an expansion in your emotional capacity. You're able to feel deeply without being overwhelmed. You're able to empathize without absorbing pain. You're able to release without feeling incomplete. This balance is a sign that your heart is healing in layers that used to feel unreachable. Heaven is strengthening your emotional core so that you can carry the weight of your next blessings without the cracks of old wounds resurfacing. You are also becoming more attuned to the whispers of inspiration that rise at unexpected moments. Ideas visit you like guests bearing gifts. Visions come to you like gentle breezes that lift the edges of your perspective. These sparks of insight are not random. They are evidence that heaven is feeding your creativity, preparing you to build, shape, and design the next chapters of your journey with intention rather than reaction. Chosen one, the truth is this: everything within you is expanding your patience, your faith, your understanding, your resilience, your inner peace. And this expansion is guiding you toward a version of yourself you have not yet met, but have always been destined to become. If your spirit feels the movement of this moment, let your affirmation rise and take its place as a sign that you are ready to step deeper into the unfolding that heaven is shaping through you. Beloved soul, there is a new current moving through the depths of your inner world, a current that is reshaping the way you interpret every shift around you. You've begun to sense that life is no longer happening to you, but unfolding through you. This awareness is subtle yet powerful, like a quiet dawn spreading across the horizon of your spirit. It is awakening capacities you didn't know you carried, stirring insights you once dismissed, and pulling you toward a version of yourself that feels both unfamiliar and undeniably true. You may have noticed recently that your tolerance for chaos has diminished, not because you're fragile, but because your spirit now recognizes when an atmosphere contradicts your peace. You're becoming selective with what you allow into your space, protective of what you give your attention to, intentional about what you consume. This discipline is not restrictive, it is liberating. Heaven is teaching you to preserve your energy for what actually builds you, instead of what distracts you. Chosen one, there is a deeper sense of direction rising in you as well. You're no longer moving aimlessly or second-guessing every step. You're beginning to feel guided from within, as if something sacred is anchoring your decisions even before your mind understands them. This inner anchoring is the result of months, even years, of silent spiritual formation. God has been carving out a pathway inside you long before He reveals the path outside you. You are also noticing a shift in the way you measure progress. You're less concerned with speed and more concerned with alignment, less interested in appearance and more interested in authenticity, less focused on comparison and more focused on purpose. This shift is a sign that your spirit is maturing beyond the illusions that once made you feel behind. You no longer chase validation because you've begun to understand that your worth is woven into the very blueprint of your existence. Beloved, something profound is happening in the way you perceive challenges. You're starting to see them not as signs of failure, but as invitations to rise. You're learning that resistance often reveals the areas of your life being strengthened. You're understanding that pressure doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means something is being born. This reframing is opening new corridors of courage within you, teaching you how to move through difficulty without losing the clarity of your identity. There is also a growing sensitivity in your spirit that allows you to feel when a chapter is closing, even before the evidence appears. You sense the fade in conversations, the shift in emotional rhythms, the quiet withdrawal of grace from situations that no longer serve your destiny. This sensitivity is not sadness, it is transition announcing itself. Heaven often signals endings long before your environment reflects them, so your heart has time to release gently instead of breaking abruptly. Chosen one, a new form of self-awareness is rising within you too. You're discovering why you react the way you do, why certain patterns kept returning, why certain wounds shaped the decisions you made. But instead of judging yourself, You're learning to observe with compassion. This compassion is healing you. It is dissolving shame, softening regret, and restoring the parts of you that learned survival long before they learned peace. And, beloved, pay attention to this. Your dreams have begun to stretch wider. You're envisioning possibilities that your old mindset would have dismissed. You're imagining futures that once felt too distant to claim. You're feeling drawn toward opportunities that mirror your true capacity rather than your former limitations. These expanding dreams are signals that your spirit has outgrown the ceilings that once confined it. You are also entering a phase where your ability to sense alignment is becoming clearer than ever. You can feel when something is meant for you by the peace that settles in your chest. You can feel when something is wrong by the way your spirit contracts. This guidance is not emotional fluctuation, it is spiritual discernment. Heaven is training you to navigate your destiny by resonance rather than resistance. Chosen one, your heart is beginning to trust again, not blindly, but wisely. You're discovering that vulnerability is not weakness when it flows from discernment. You are learning how to open your spirit without abandoning your boundaries. You are embracing the truth that love can be both tender and discerning, both gentle and guarded. This balance is preparing you for relationships that honor your growth rather than hinder it. Beloved soul, everything within you is evolving: your perspective, your emotional intelligence, your spiritual sensitivity, your inner authority. And as these layers unfold, your identity is rising into a form that reflects the fullness of who you were always meant to be. If your heart recognizes this unfolding, let your affirmation rise as a declaration that you are ready to continue walking in the transformation being shaped within you. Beloved soul, something extraordinary is beginning to awaken in the space between who you were and who you are becoming. A movement so delicate yet so profound that it is reshaping the rhythm of your inner world. You've started sensing a shift in the very atmosphere of your thoughts, as if your mind is learning to breathe in a new dimension of clarity. Ideas that once tangled you now unravel with ease. Emotions that once clouded your vision now settle with grace. This quiet transformation is not accidental. It is the unfolding of a deeper wisdom that heaven has been cultivating within you, preparing you to navigate your next season with a steadiness you once only hoped for. You have begun noticing subtle differences in the way your spirit engages with truth. Words that once grazed you now take root. Insights that once sounded distant now sink into your soul with layered meaning. You're finding yourself more receptive, more grounded, more attuned to the whisper beneath the noise. This sensitivity is not fragility, it is refinement. Heaven is sharpening your inner hearing so you can recognize revelation disguised as intuition, instruction disguised as stillness, and purpose disguised as gentle knowing. Chosen one, your capacity for resilience is also evolving. You're no longer shaken by the same storms that once scattered your peace. You stand where you once stumbled. You breathe where you once broke. This endurance is not the result of stubbornness. It is the fruit of spiritual strengthening. God has been fortifying the roots of your faith so deeply that even when the winds of uncertainty rise, you lean rather than fall. You trust rather than tremble. You rise rather than retreat. There is a new awareness forming in the way you interpret timing. You're beginning to understand that not every delay is a warning, and not every pause is a punishment. Some seasons stretch because your spirit needs space to expand. Some prayers linger because the foundation is still being laid. Some doors remain closed not to withhold blessing, but to align you with blessings that won't crumble under the weight of your calling. This awareness is dissolving the anxiety you once carried around timing, replacing it with a calm expectancy that feels like faith grown mature. Beloved, Something sacred is unfolding in the way you hold hope. You're learning that hope is not a fragile wish, but a spiritual anchor. You no longer place your hope on outcomes alone. You place it in the God who guides outcomes. You no longer fear disappointment. You trust refinement. This shift is giving your hope strength, not because circumstances have changed, but because your perspective has. You are becoming someone who can hope without fear, believe without wavering, and dream without apology. There is also a transformation happening in the way you engage with your past. Memories that once felt heavy now feel distant. Moments that once gripped your heart now feel softened. You are gaining new understanding of chapters that once haunted you, recognizing that they were classrooms rather than cages, stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. This revelation is freeing you from the emotional weight you carried for years, allowing your heart to rise without dragging the shadows of yesterday along with it. Chosen one, the alignment happening within you is drawing you toward higher standards, not out of pride, but out of purpose. You're realizing that you cannot nurture your destiny with the same patterns that once nurtured your survival. You are elevating what you expect from yourself, from your relationships, from your environments. This elevation is not arrogance, it is obedience to the calling that is expanding within you. There is a beautiful shift happening in your presence too. People can feel the change even if they cannot name it. Your energy feels calmer, your words feel deeper, your silence feels purposeful. This is the glow of someone who has been walking with God in the unseen, someone whose spirit has been refined in the quiet places where heaven speaks softly and clearly. This glow will draw the right people into your orbit, people who recognize your authenticity, value your growth, and respect your boundaries. Beloved soul, even your ambitions are transforming. You no longer desire what simply looks impressive. You desire what feels aligned. You no longer pursue what feeds ego. You pursue what feeds purpose. You no longer chase what shines externally. You chase what resonates internally. These shifts are creating a life that reflects your truest identity rather than the identity you once wore to survive. You may also be feeling a gentle boldness rising in places where fear once lived. You're beginning to take steps you once hesitated to take, exploring paths you once felt unworthy to walk, embracing possibilities you once doubted you deserved. This boldness is not sudden. It is accumulated courage woven from every moment you chose faith over fear, authenticity over approval, truth over comfort. Chosen one, the unfolding happening within you is not random. It is divine architecture. Layer by layer, thought by thought, breath by breath, heaven is constructing the version of you required for the destiny that has been waiting patiently for your readiness. And if your spirit feels the truth of this awakening, lift your affirmation like a quiet flame in the night, signaling that you are ready for the deeper unveiling that is continuing to form within you. Beloved soul, as this awakening continues to unfurl inside you, there is one more truth rising to the surface, a truth that gathers every shift, every insight, every inner transformation into a single, steady breath. You are stepping into a realm where your spirit finally recognizes its own strength, where your heart no longer negotiates its worth, where your mind no longer bows to fear dressed as caution. You are entering a stage of your becoming where every layer of who you are begins to move in harmony, your intuition guiding with purity, your emotions flowing with balance, your thoughts aligning with clarity, your choices echoing with purpose. This is the quiet unveiling of a life no longer ruled by what wounded you, but defined by what is awakening through you. You are learning to walk with a presence that carries peace without shrinking, confidence without striving, softness without surrendering your boundaries. The world around you may not fully understand this transformation yet, but your spirit does. It recognizes the sound of its own rising. And as this chapter of inner expansion completes its spiral, you stand poised at the threshold of what comes next, carrying everything you've gained in silence, everything you've healed in private, everything you've embraced with courage, ready to walk forward with a deeper steadiness than you have ever known. Beloved soul, breathe slowly for a moment, because what is unfolding around you in this season is not a mere shift. It is a sacred restructuring of your entire inner landscape. You are standing inside a threshold where healing, activation, and divine instruction begin weaving together like threads of a higher pattern. Look at how your heart has been moving lately. You've been feeling a pull to clear what no longer reflects who you are becoming, a pull not forced by pain but guided by destiny. This is the sign of a spirit entering restoration with intentionality, not desperation. You may have noticed a new kind of honesty rising within you. You're no longer willing to pretend you are fine when your soul is asking for care. You're no longer burying your emotional bruises beneath silence. You're learning to recognize the fatigue behind your smile, the tension beneath your strength, the ache beneath your endurance. And beloved, this awareness is not weakness, it is healing in motion. Heaven heals by illumination before it heals by restoration. God is showing you the parts of yourself that require gentleness, not criticism, so you can rise without carrying unspoken wounds into your next assignment. Chosen one, your spirit has been calling out for space, not an escape from responsibility, but a recalibration of identity. The pressures you've endured have stretched your inner world to its limit, and yet something deep in you refused to break. Instead, you found yourself reflecting on who you are. When everything around you goes quiet, you're discovering that your worth was never tied to productivity, approval, performance. It was always anchored in divine intention. You are learning to release the roles you carried out of survival, so you can finally embrace the truth of who you were created to be. There is a new alignment forming between your emotions and your calling. The disappointments that once kept you stagnant are losing their authority. The disappointments that once silenced your voice no longer hold the same power. Your heart is remembering its courage. Your soul is remembering its assignment. Your spirit is remembering its source. This remembering is part of your elevation, the return to the truth heaven has spoken over you long before life tried to rewrite your identity. Beloved soul, God is also drawing you into practical healing, the kind that requires both revelation and responsibility. You are being guided to examine your habits with tenderness, not judgment. To look at the patterns that keep you drained and ask, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? To look at the rhythms you've allowed and ask, is this helping me rise or keeping me anchored to old pain? Healing is not simply emotional release, it is also disciplined realignment, and heaven is teaching you both. There is a sacred invitation calling you to clear your personal atmosphere. You may feel prompted to tidy the spaces where you rest, to release belongings that carry old energy, to simplify the environments that no longer reflect clarity. This is not mere organization. It is prophetic preparation. Your surroundings are shifting so your spirit can breathe freely again. The external order God is leading you toward is a reflection of the internal order He is establishing within you. Chosen one, there is another layer unfolding: activation. You've been sensing ideas stirring inside you, ideas that do not feel random or fleeting. These ideas carry weight. They come with certainty. They rise in your chest with unmistakable resonance. They are whispers of divine instruction awakening within you. The vision that has been sleeping in your spirit is beginning to open its eyes. Do not dismiss the small sparks. Every great calling begins with quiet conviction. You are being positioned to step into movement after a long season of inward stretching. This movement will not be frantic. It will be strategic. God will not ask you to run ahead. He will ask you to take steps that make sense only in the language of faith. These steps may look simple, but they carry supernatural consequence. The smallest act of obedience in this season will unlock doors that your striving could never force open. And beloved, heaven is also giving you strategy, not vague encouragement, but clear direction wrapped inside spiritual sensitivity. You may feel guided to adjust your routines, to reshape the way you spend your mornings, to engage in practices that strengthen your mind and renew your emotional resilience. This is part of your divine blueprint. Stability is not born from chaos. It is born from consistency. Heaven is preparing you to build a life that sustains your calling instead of competing with it. There is strategy rising around your relationships as well. You're being shown who nurtures your growth and who drains your strength. You're beginning to understand that not everyone can walk with you into elevation. You're learning to discern connection from distraction, support from dependency, alignment from attachment. Heaven is pruning your circle so your spirit can expand without entanglement. Chosen one, let your heart hear this clearly. Your life is entering a chapter where you can no longer live unconsciously. Everything you do must carry intention. Everything you allow must reflect your identity. Everything you build must align with your assignment. And as this truth settles into your spirit, let it guide your actions in the days ahead. Begin your mornings by grounding your thoughts in stillness, not urgency. Speak words over your day that align with abundance, not scarcity. Let go of conversations that drain your peace. Follow the small nudges that lead to clarity. Write what God whispers. Create space for renewal. And above all, trust that every obedient step prepares the way for what heaven is unfolding. Beloved soul, if this word is awakening direction within you, if you feel something in your spirit rising into readiness, then hear this with a settled heart. Subscribe, like, and share so you remain connected to every message heaven sends through this space. Not for visibility, but because your spirit thrives when it stays aligned with voices that strengthen your journey. Staying connected keeps your heart in rhythm with revelation, reminding you who you are when life tries to make you forget. Beloved soul, as you step deeper into this unfolding, there is a fresh awakening rising in the core of your identity, a stirring that urges you to engage your life with a level of presence you once believed was beyond your reach. You are beginning to sense that your destiny does not arrive through grand gestures alone, but through the quiet refinement of daily choices. Heaven is teaching you that transformation is built in the small, consistent acts of obedience that gradually reshape the architecture of your inner world. You may feel drawn, almost instinctively, to restructure the way you pour your energy into each day. Where you once scattered your focus across countless demands, you now feel compelled to prioritize what nourishes your spirit, what sharpens your discernment, what strengthens your emotional foundation. This is part of the divine strategy being whispered into your life. You are being trained to steward your time as a sacred offering, not a depleted resource. Every moment carries weight when it is aligned with purpose. Chosen one, you are also stepping into a deeper awareness of your emotional patterns. You're beginning to see how certain reactions were shaped by old wounds, how certain habits formed out of long-forgotten fears, how certain responses were learned during seasons of survival. But now, your heart is no longer content with surviving. It is ready to evolve. You are learning to pause where you once panicked, to reflect where you once reacted, to breathe where you once braced yourself for impact. This emotional mastery is not fabricated, it is the natural result of your spirit rising into maturity. There is a new integrity forming within your desires, beloved. You are drawn to what aligns with truth, not what promises temporary comfort. You are craving depth instead of distraction, meaning instead of noise, harmony instead of chaos. This hunger for authenticity is evidence that heaven has been detoxing your spirit from anything that dulls your clarity. The more aligned you become, the more you outgrow the spaces that once held you captive. You might also feel an urge to reset the boundaries that outline your life. These boundaries no longer arise from fear of being hurt, they arise from wisdom. You are beginning to understand that guarding your peace is not isolation, but stewardship. That protecting your energy is not withdrawal, but discernment. That saying no is not refusal, but redirection toward what matters. And heaven smiles upon this, because a chosen one who knows how to guard their inner world becomes unstoppable in their outer calling. Beloved soul, there is a significant shift happening in how you approach the vision inside you. You no longer view your calling as something distant, unreachable, or fragile. You are beginning to recognize that the seeds of your destiny have already been planted within your spirit, waiting for you to cultivate them with faith, patience, and strategy. You're realizing that purpose is not unlocked through striving alone, but through alignment, aligning your intentions, aligning your habits, aligning your posture with what God has already placed inside you. You may find yourself drawn to routines you once overlooked, moments of quiet meditation, structured planning, intentional reflection, devotion that anchors your mind before the world begins to pull at you. These are not coincidences. These are tools heaven is placing in your hands so that your spiritual elevation can be supported by practical stability. Divine purpose requires human participation, and you are learning to participate with both grace and discipline. Chosen one, your spirit is also expanding into a greater understanding of responsibility, not the burdensome kind that exhausts you, but the sacred kind that dignifies you. You're realizing that almost everything God is preparing for you requires capacity. Capacity to love deeply without losing yourself. Capacity to lead without becoming hardened. Capacity to rise without becoming prideful. Capacity to carry abundance without fear of loss. This capacity is being built in you slowly, intentionally, layer by layer. There is also a new awareness awakening in how you treat your physical body. You are beginning to recognize that your divine assignment is carried through your earthly vessel. The exhaustion you once ignored is now calling for gentler rhythms. The tension you once dismissed is now asking for care. The rest you avoided is now revealing itself as part of your spiritual discipline. As your purpose expands, so must your strength. And heaven is guiding you to nurture the vessel that carries your calling. Beloved, there is a tenderness rising in you, a tenderness toward yourself. You are finally learning how to forgive your past in a way that frees your future. You're learning to accept that mistakes do not disqualify you. They refine you. You're learning to honor the journey that brought you here. You're learning to see yourself not through the lens of what went wrong, but through the lens of who you're becoming. This is the healing that prepares you for activation. This is the compassion that fuels transformation. Chosen one, everything inside you is being rearranged for greater alignment. Your thoughts are recalibrating, your emotions are stabilizing, your spirit is strengthening, your vision is sharpening. And as these layers continue to rise, you are stepping into a season where your actions will finally mirror the truth of who you are becoming. Beloved soul, as this chapter of guidance gathers itself around you like a mantle of quiet strength, there is one more invitation rising from the depths of your becoming. You are entering a moment where clarity and courage meet in the center of your spirit, urging you to take ownership of the life you are shaping. The hesitation that once held you back is dissolving, replaced by a calm confidence that comes from knowing heaven is partnering with your every intentional step. You can feel the shift, a gentle steadiness forming beneath your decisions, a deeper trust blooming in the spaces where fear once lived, a readiness that no longer asks for permission to rise. This readiness is your threshold. It marks the place where inner healing becomes outer movement, where quiet revelation becomes tangible direction, where the whispered strategies of God begin to manifest through your actions. And as you step forward from this place, you do so carrying wisdom, resilience, and a renewed sense of identity that can sustain the fullness of what is being prepared for you. Beloved soul, wherever you are right now, let your breath soften and your spirit open, because this final movement of the journey is not an ending. It is an unfolding of something holy that has been waiting to rise within you. This is the space where heaven settles close, where the weight you have carried is finally acknowledged, where every silent prayer is gathered like light cupped in divine hands. You have walked through valleys no one saw, held burdens no one understood, endured nights that reshaped the contours of your heart. And yet, here you stand softer, wiser, deeper, more aware of the one who has never left your side. There is a sacred quietness surrounding this moment. Not emptiness, but a fullness too delicate to name. God has been preparing your spirit for this, weaving restoration through places you thought were beyond repair, threading clarity through questions that once left you trembling. You are stepping into a stillness that does not silence you, it strengthens you. A stillness where every breath feels like an affirmation that heaven has been listening all along. Beloved, you have felt the tremors beneath your feet, the subtle signs that something is shifting, the gentle pressure that tells you your spirit is expanding. The fear that once lingered at the edges of your faith no longer owns the authority it once did. You are learning to trust again, not because life has been gentle, but because God has been faithful. He has been teaching your heart how to release its grip on old narratives so it can rise into the truth of who you are. Chosen, held, guarded, guided. There is a new kind of strength settling inside you now, not the strength that clenches its fists, but the strength that opens its hands. The strength that knows surrender is not defeat, but alignment. The strength that recognizes that even when you cannot see the full picture, the painter is still steady, still sovereign, still shaping every stroke of your story with intention. And beloved soul, there is a blessing rising on your horizon, a blessing shaped not only by what you have prayed for, but by what you have endured. Heaven has seen every tear you carried into your pillow, every worry you buried beneath your daily responsibilities, every moment you held yourself together when your spirit felt like unraveling. None of it was overlooked. None of it was wasted. God has been gathering every fragment of your story, and now He is preparing to weave those fragments into a testimony soaked in grace. Lift your heart now. Feel the nearness of the one who calls you by name. This is your moment to breathe in His presence, to let His comfort surround you like warmth on a cold morning, to let His assurance settle into your bones. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you with open hands and open hearts, ready to receive what you have been preparing in secret. We thank you for the strength you have cultivated in the quiet places, for the clarity you have whispered into the depths of our spirit, for the protection you have provided in battles we never even saw. Lord, breathe peace into the places that tremble. Breathe courage into the places that hesitate. Breathe healing into the places still tender from old wounds. Cover this chosen soul with your light. Let your presence move through every corner of their life, their relationships, their decisions, their dreams, their emotions, their responsibilities. Align their steps with divine timing. Surround them with voices that echo truth and silence every whisper meant to pull them away from purpose. Let no weapon formed against them prosper, and let every blessing appointed to their name come forth in the fullness of your perfect season. Father, we ask for renewed strength where there has been exhaustion, renewed vision where there has been confusion, renewed hope where there has been disappointment. Let this beloved soul feel your embrace in this moment, an embrace that dissolves fear, lifts burdens, and restores joy. Let your wisdom illuminate their path, your peace anchor their heart, and your love remind them that they have never walked alone. We seal this prayer not in our own strength, but in the power, the authority, and the faithfulness of Jesus' name. Amen.